everybody. Mark Moon here, Government Affairs Director for the Reading-Berks Association of Realtors. Have the honor of sitting here with the one and only Fred Levering talking about a lot of different things that you guys as realtors and affiliates are asking and wanting to know in the Wyomissing area. And there's no better person that we can think of to ask questions of than Fred. So why don't you share a little bit about your background and what qualifies you to give us some information today on Wyomissing in particular?
Well, I've been involved in borough government and some other political things around town for quite a long time. I've forever been interested in politics or government. I've been in the real estate business. The other month ago, it was 50 years. We're a local independent. We've, through mergers, have evolved to becoming now Berkshire Hathaway. And the intersection between my interest in government and politics and real estate is what really fascinates me. So I was first elected to borough council in '92 or something like that. And after serving on council for quite a while, 20 plus years, and being the council president for most of it, I then decided to shift over to become mayor. So I'm now mayor of the borough and chair our economic development committee. So the borough is 125 or so years old and landlocked. It's not going to get any bigger.
Right.
So there isn't any green space to develop. And that means that as time goes by, we have to evolve with it. At one point, we had like 6 million people a year coming into Vanity Fair from all up and down the East Coast, and that started to dry up. So it was time to reinvent things. And I decided, by then I was involved, and I decided that we needed to be ready for development. So the first thing we did was to take a hard look and update our infrastructure. This water, sewer, we had to make sure we had the capacity to attract other things. And we set about creating 5-year plans for roads, sewer, water, and all this and that. And we started to whittle down that list. And we refused to go do a bond issue or whatever and incur debt. And then you pay the money back twice. We didn't want to do that. So we whittled away at it and got things in shape. And then we were able to land. The first step in the way was what is called Wyomissing Square, where the Marriott Hotel is, and there's 248 apartments above there and all that. And that was the first step, and that was very successful. We were interrupted then by the Great Recession and then the pandemic, but that led us to becoming a favorably viewed place. That a company called Equus came in and did what is now the knitting mills. Those were the outlet stores and so on, which were originally the knitting mills. Now it's been turned into really neat office space and some technology with HealthFlex. They manufacture like medical facilities like catheter needles and things like that. And the Drexel Medical School. Drexel Tower Health Medical School. So we redeveloped those two areas, and then that led us to the north side of town, and we got the Berkshire malls. Well, malls have been done in all around the country by Amazon and the rest of the internet, and where retail has changed. I'm especially good at spending other people's money, so I was pitching an idea that you'd take the existing mall, take the footprint of the Bonton and go up about 5 or 6 stories with an over 55 community, and then you'd have the mall to walk in and stuff, and we create outside entrances to the stores so you didn't have to walk the whole mall to go to a particular spot. Unfortunately, big ideas like that come with a price, and the numbers just didn't work. So eventually, after a couple of starts and stuff, the mall was purchased by an outfit from Long Island, New York. They have not maintained things, but we played hardball with them. We went to court actually at one point, got a court order to fix some sinkholes, which was the result of a storm sewer system that was decrepit. When it was originally built, it was done with galvanized metal pipes, which was the way everything was done in those days, in 1970 or so. And it was, they rusted through. And it's an area of limestone, so it's prone to sinkholes. And next thing you know, we had sinkholes in the parking lot. And we're worried about trucks or cars or worse yet, people going into them. So we forced a court order to make them fix it, which has just been completed, actually.
Right.
In the meantime, they didn't do anything with the rest of the building either. And just a few weeks ago, we had a freeze up because there was a vacant area of the mall that HVAC systems were not maintained and needed work, and it was cold, and we had that very cold period of time in it.
Yeah.
they froze up, and that caused all sorts of damage. We were in the process of going back to court again, but they have repaired them because I guess they knew we were serious. In the meantime, a developer has gotten an agreement of sale to purchase the mall. It's a reputable company. They've come to us well recommended by some of the other developers we worked with, and Boscov's, which is the remaining department store and will stay with the facility when it's redone. So they're well regarded, Abrams company, and they have an agreement of sale. They've made a major deposit on the transaction and are scheduled to close in the middle of May. So it's going to happen quickly. So in the meantime, we're finalizing things. So at this moment, I'm not able to give you really the down to the minute details on who will be the stores, but I can tell you that the plan is to demolish the mall, which is bittersweet for me because I remember going there when I was younger, and then after I got married,
back to
kids, and we'd go over with the kids and the water fountains, and you go get an orange Julius and all that stuff, and those days are gone.
Right.
The internet has done them in, and it's not coming back.
Nope.
So it's better to face reality and move forward rather than trying to force feed something. So the mall will be demolished except for Boscov's. Boscov's will remain. That's a good, thriving store, and they're happy being here and all that. So they will remain in place. Along Woodland Road, the plan calls for, I think it's 4 boxes, which will either be restaurants or individual stores. And then a similar thing up along State Hill Road. At the top, toward the highway along State Hill Road, is proposed a medical facility, and a sizable one. There is one of the membership department stores whose last name starts with a C, I think it is we believe they're coming, but that's not finalized yet. But that would be down on the end of the property toward where Sears was, down that way. And they would have a huge facility there along with gas pumps and stuff, which is part of their game. Boscov's, as I said, would remain. There would be a town center sort of concept developed at the State Hill Road end in front of Boscov's. And then there's a big retail space up against the highway that is not yet finalized. We hope to have that nailed down soon, but that will be another really big piece. So with this going on, and then nearby our colleagues in Spring Township have a major development going on that piece of undeveloped land across along Broadcasting Road, across from where Barnes & Noble is. That will be a very large retail section along with some restaurants and stuff. Some of those now have been named. Whole Foods is going to be there, along with like Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and Shake Shack and a couple other things. So that's coming along. They're pushing dirt now.
And they have
then there will 700 units of residential. And there's a big apartment complex, and then townhouses and singles. It's going to be pricey. The townhouses I'm told are going to be mid 300s and up, and the single houses over 600. So that will be challenging for Berks County in terms of absorbing that, I think, but we'll see. They always seem to sell. So there's a lot of activity going on right around here. In between the two developments, what we're getting started with Berkshire and this broadcasting district is the Crown Plaza Hotel, the old Sheridan. We thought it was purchased by a hotel group that bought a number of hotels around the country, and I'm told, hit some financial speed bumps. So whether they pull that off or not is a question mark right now. Their intent was to turn it back into a first-class hotel, which I believe our area can demand, really. I mean, the DoubleTree in downtown Reading is the only game in town for a large facility these days, and as nice of a job as they've done, I think that there is room for another, and hopefully that's what this will be in the not too distant future, but that's still working its way through this financial hiccup that they encountered. So there's a heck of a lot of things going on around here. So we've been successful. We've had, not counting them all, over $500 million worth of redevelopment in Wyomissing that I'm very proud of. We have a great team of people. Nobody does this stuff by themselves, so I don't want to give the impression that it's all because of me.
Right.
It's not true. We have a great administrative staff. We have a good, strong council, and it's a good team effort. And I'm very pleased. I've often said in our borough council chambers, there's two big portraits of Toon and Janssen hanging on the wall, and I look up at those saying, our job basically is don't screw this up.
Yeah.
We're bequeathed something that's extraordinary by those people, and I think that we've been able to keep it up. I wish we had more room to work with, but we don't. So we got to make use of what we've got, and the current thing is the mall. And in the meantime, the residential component of the borough, which is what our focus really is. Our job in borough government is to enhance and protect value and stuff for our residents. But what I've learned over the years is this commercial stuff is what pays a lot of the bills, and that's why we need to focus on that. Now, every municipality in Berks County has to decide what it wants to be, and if they want to be rural and no commercial, that's fine. That's up to them, not up to anybody else, the county government or whatever, to dictate that. So, but as far as Wyomissing is concerned, we want them both. We want to enhance our residents. We want to grow the commercial district to help pay for that. And as a result, we have things like a 300-acre park system and things that I think are very good reasons to want to locate in the borough as a place to raise your family and live nearby where you're working and so on. And so far, so good.
Great. So fantastic amount of information. And as always, you always just have a wealth of knowledge. But there are two things that I do want you to dive a little bit deeper into if you can. So, and they're easy for you to talk about because we've talked about them before, but specific to the Berkshire Mall property. So the former mobile gas station that's there on the corner. What sort of plans for that can you share at this stage?
It's part of the overall development. We had another developer, a well-regarded developer, approach us about putting a Wawa on that corner. And because of the circumstance with the current owner that we're in the process of divesting, that kind of went on hold. The new developer is interested in that. So it may resurface as part of this new thing that's yet to be finalized. So I don't have a plan of the property that I can hold up and show you at this point, but eventually I think it's better than even money. That'll be a wall on that corner. Nevertheless, that also kind of touches on another thing. There is a redevelopment of State Hill Road.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
That is also underway. Now, we've met extensively with PennDOT. The idea is to widen it. I had been arguing with county planning here for years about getting an extra lane from Woodland Road up to Berkshire Boulevard. That's all I wanted. Now they're going to redo the whole thing. PennDOT is in charge, and there we go. The idea is to widen it, including a series of those so-called roundabouts. And they've done the studies.
Shape, the elongated.
Yeah, it's all the latest and greatest. I mean, now one thing you got to remember is a lot of the work that PennDOT does is done with federal money that comes down from Washington. And the feds now mandate that anytime you do a project, whether it's in Pennsylvania or New Jersey or Montana, they have to consider roundabouts. They can't just start adding lanes. They've got to consider roundabouts. The beauty of a roundabout is traffic doesn't stop. It doesn't move as quickly, but it never actually stops. And that's where the problem is, where you have a red light, traffic stops, backs up, they're sitting there idling with the fumes going into the air, and then the light changes, and some of them get through, and then it turns red again and repeats itself endlessly. And the roundabouts that have been built up on Route 222 seem to work. I mean, you're supposed to get 2 tractor trailers side by side around, and I'm not so sure about that, but the thing seems to function. And the ones that were built down around Ole really work well, because there you don't have all the tractor trailer trucks and stuff. But the roundabouts do work. They take a little getting used to. People object because, this is Berks County. But in any event, we're going to get a rebuild of State Hill Road from Penn Avenue out to Colony Park.
Okay.
I argued that it ought to go all the way out to Van Reed Road, but at this point it's up as far as Colony Drive. And there'll be some roundabouts. There will still be the signalized intersection at Berkshire Boulevard is going to be enhanced, but it's not going to be a roundabout there. And their first phase of that is supposed to start in 27. That will go from approximately the mall, where as it is now at the entrance to the mall, up to including the ramps that go up onto the highway. Because those things kind of in the middle there dictate a lot of the other movements. Then they will go from the mall out to Colony Park, and lastly from the highway intersection up to Penn Avenue. Penn Avenue, they wanted to try to squeeze a roundabout in there, but we argued against that. There's a couple of historic properties. There's also a grade differential as you come up. They seem to have finally backed off on that, because that really made me nervous. But the rest of it, I believe will work. So that'll be happening coincidentally at pretty much the same time. So the timeline for that, as I said, will start in 27 sometime. The idea of the Berkshire Mall, they close in May, and then I would think they would probably be another year or so until the demolition takes place. There are tenants in the mall with leases and whatnot that have to be sorted out. And I would guess about a year later, so what would that put us at? Beginning of 20 years, something like that. We'll see the demo and then a whole lot of work going on. In the meantime, the project by that point over in Spring Township will be getting pretty well done.
There should be tenancy in there by at least some of the big box stores and that sort of thing. Along with the same timeline, that time frame is going to be an amazing time frame in Berks County, because the West Shore bypass reconstruction should be taking place right around that same time too. So
I mean, they're going to put,
it's a 7 or 8 year phased project.
There's going to be 3 lanes in both directions, so there's a lot of rebuilding of intersections, bridges, and all that.
Lancaster Avenue going to the outside rather than the inside.
That's long overdue.
100%.
Actually, though, as I mentioned earlier in this conversation, I've been in the business 50 years, so you can kind of guess at my age, and I'm starting to hear some of these numbers, the 20 for this or that, and I'm counting on my finger. Wait a minute, how old will I be in a minute?
The end projected end date for that is 2034, so it's crazy. But appreciate your time today. Again, as I had said, a wealth of information, and so again, just reiterate who you are and where you're working, and if folks need to get a hold of somebody with all the answers, who should they reach out to?
Well, we've been talking for a while here, but I'm still Fred Levering and Berkshire and the Mayor of Wyomissing, and you obviously can reach me here or through the borough, or here being Berkshire Hathaway, or through the borough, and always be glad to help out my fellow realtors.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mark.